Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I thought it would be fun to make this Father's Day card. We're going to create this cute little tool bag with all the tools, and then I've got a fun Happy Father's Day die set to show you as well. Let's take a look at that first. This is called the Father's Day die set, and you can see you get all these really cute little images. I did die cut these so you could see what's in this little set. There's the mug, the tie, the little bow tie, and then the Happy Father's Day that we're going to be using today. Number one, the glasses, the mustache, and that super dad. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tool bag and die set, and this is what it looks like when it's all assembled. But you could certainly use all these pieces separately as well. Now I got a little bit lazy, so I just took the packaging since I needed everything in this die set to be stamped. Put a little bit of Tombow mono tape on the back of the plastic, and I'm going to stamp this all at once. You can certainly take these off of your packaging to do your stamping, but again, I thought it would be really easy just to do it like this. So I'm just going to pick that up. I've got some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock in my mini MISTI stamp positioner, and let's go ahead and ink that up with some Versafine Onyx black ink. This is a permanent black ink. Since we're going to be using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens to do our coloring, those are a water-based marker. So this ink will dry really quickly and allow us to do that blending. I've got my Stampendable stamp press, and I'll go ahead and press that out. And again, I'm just pressing it all out at once. You can see that stamped all my little images, and now I'll just wipe that clean and then remove this entire piece with the plastic and place that back in my packaging. Let's go ahead and start the coloring with light gray and gray, and I'm going to use that gray for a little bit of shadowing, and then we'll go ahead and blend that using the Zig blender pen. So this is a really fun little set, and as I was saying before, you could certainly use all of these little tools separately. You could put them on a little tool bench or hang them from a little tool rack. That would be really cute. There's lots of options for this, or just your husband or your father's favorite tool would be really cute. You could repeat that on a card, and you could certainly stamp all these tools on a background and create a complete background of all these little tools. And you wouldn't even have to color them in. You could just do them in the black and white, and then just highlight one of the tools or highlight a sentiment. So I think you have a lot of options with this little set. And you'll see that when we die cut the tool bag, it's going to create little slits where those pockets are and allow us to tuck all of these little tools right inside the bag. So it's really interactive and lots of fun. So I'm sticking with those same two colors, and I'm going to do all the pieces in those colors that I need to for now. I did speed this up a little bit so that it won't take too long. So the coloring will be fairly quick, and it's very easy. All of these items are very tiny, so the coloring goes pretty quickly. And also keep in mind that you could do this for a female as well. Just change out that tool bag color to something pretty, you know, your pinks or purples. That would be really fun. So it doesn't necessarily have to be for a masculine card. I'm sure you have some friends who are very crafty with their saws and tools and creating things, so that would be fun for them as well. So again, I'm finishing up with that light gray and gray, and now I'm going to switch to the light brown and the brown. We'll do all of the little handles and things. That brown has a little bit of a redishy tint to it, so it's really nice for this. It'll make the handles on these pop really well. And then later on, just to add a little highlighting, you can always come in with your white gel pen and just add some highlights here and there just to make everything pop a little bit more. I'll show you that as we go along. And do keep in mind that all of the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. I know a lot of people mention to me how difficult it is to make masculine cards, and I do have to say that it is a little bit more difficult because we're used to adding ribbons and gems and sparkly items onto our cards in order to give them more interest and dimension. But this little tool set, with all those little pockets and adding all these little tools, really adds to that interest and dimension and creates this really nice masculine card. And it's really easy to do. Like I said, simple coloring, small items. So you could also add a few little, I'm going to call them gems. I'm going to add some little screws to the front of the card. They're little brads, and I just cut the backing off of them and attach them to the card. But I will also link for you some Tim Holtz little screws that he has in a set, and you could use those as well. So whatever you have, I did want to keep it really masculine, so I didn't want to add anything sparkly. And then what we'll do for the Father's Day sentiment is do that in some dark wood grain. So that again will just add to that masculine look. So here you can see I'm finishing up with those browns, and now I'm going to switch to the olive green and the moss green. And I'll do the bag in that color, and I'll do this little drill in that color as well. And I sort of pre-selected my colors based on some paper that we're going to be using from Art Impressions. It's a 6x6 paper pack, and I will show that to you. And it's got browns, green, kind of like olive greens, browns, tans. So we'll take a look at that later on. So let's do the trim work on the little bag, and I'm using that brown. I'm using a dark brown, I believe, here to do that trim. Let me just double check that. I'm sorry, a mid brown to do that trim. And then I'm just going to blend that out, and we'll add some more up here at the top. Just creating a few shadows here and there. Now I will do the entire bag in the greens. I just thought it would be really nice, and again, it would go really well with the paper that we're using. I'm going to quickly do this little pocket. I'll do that in the mid brown as well. And then now I've got those two greens, those same two greens that we used before. And by the way, all the colors that I'm using are listed up above in the upper left-hand corner as we're going along. So I'm adding a little shadowing along the lines on the edges of each of these little pockets, and then I'll pull that in towards the center. And I'm just adding the two colors at the same time. You could certainly do the lighter one first and then come in with the darker one, but sometimes I find it just as easy to do it all at once. I finished those little pockets up above the exact same way. Now let's just do the side of this little bag. You could do multiple colors too. You could do the pockets in a different color than the main part of the bag. You could do that in some tans, and then just, give it a little bit more dimension and interest by adding some different colors. So have some fun with this, and then when you're done, you could also add a plaid or a stripe to this. You could also use your pattern paper. I know I say that all the time, but you could certainly stamp it onto some pattern paper and cut that out. So here, let's just finish up the top of this bag. And then the last thing we have to do is that little handle. I'll add some of the shadowing sort of down towards the bottom and then pull that around. So now that that's all set, let's go ahead and grab the coordinating dies. And then I'm going to grab some Post-it tape. This is just a temporary tape. Let's tape those dies down, and we'll run that through the Spellbinders Platinum Scout machine. So I did the rest of those off camera, but I did want to show you everything is die cut. And look how cute this is. So much detail cuts out of these, as well as those little slits that I mentioned earlier, where you can tuck all your little tools right into those pockets. Let's go ahead and create the card base. So this measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches. and I'm going to score it at 5.5 inches, and that will give us a standard A2 size top folding card. And that I did that from some craft 100-pound cardstock. Now I've got these two pattern papers, and the first one is that really pretty stripe, and that is from the Fall Season 2 paper pack. This is from Art Impressions, and these are some 6x6 paper pads. And then for the wood grain, I decided to use that lighter side, but we're going to use the darker side for our Happy Father's Day sentiment. And there at the back side of it again is that lighter paper. And that is from the Christmas paper pack Season 2. So I'm just using my fall and Christmas paper pads. I like to dig through those as well to see what I have. Let's cut this the exact same size as the front of our card. So this will be 4.25 by 5.5. And I do want those lines to kind of go horizontally. And then I'm going to cut a piece of the stripe paper with the lines also going horizontally. And I'll cut that at the 4.25 inches and about 1 inch tall. I just want a little area to set my bag down onto. So those two will come together just like that. Let's go ahead and start to assemble this. Just going to glue this right down to my card. And that leftover paper, that darker side in the back, again, we're going to use that to die cut the sentiment. And then let's add this little piece to the bottom. Again, a little place for our tool bag to sit. And this brings all the colors together as well. So there's that Happy Father's Day. And I'm going to die cut a few extras. I want to build this up a little bit. So I die cut 2 of them from that 100-pound craft cardstock. And I cut that third one from that dark wood grain cardstock. And I really love how that looks. It's just really kind of gives it a nice woodsy feeling, a real masculine feeling. So I'm going to stack these up. I'm just using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. So I stacked the 3 of those up, and now we can go ahead and glue that to the card. I'll place that in the center up towards the top. And I'm just going to place an acrylic block on that and let that dry. Once that was dry, we can take a look at our little tool bag, and I'm going to start tucking these items in. So I'm just going to put some little dots of glue behind those pockets so that when I slide these in, they'll just stay glued in place. And you may want to add a couple little dots of glue on the front as well, but I wanted to just lay this out, kind of see where I was at. And look at how fun this is. I just love how this looks. It's just so cute. It's fun to do too. It's just a really fun little interactive. You could leave some of those tools loose so that if you were giving this to a little boy or a child, they could pull those little tools out and play with them. So that might be fun as well. This was the fun part, just trying to figure out where everything should go. Add a couple little more dots of glue on the back there. And here's where I'm adding a little bit to the front because that one was kind of flopping forward. And then let's add this little drill. I did decide to move those little pliers over. It just kind of pulled it off. It still wasn't completely dry, so I was able to move that off to the side a little bit. And then we can tuck this drill right in the back. So I do want to pop this up on the front of the card. I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to just take my small foam squares from scrapbook.com, and I placed plenty of them on the back of this. And then I kept that little saw out. We're going to place that right in front of the bag just for a little bit more interest on the front. But what I'll need to do is add a few foam dots, and then it's going to lay right across that bag, so I'll put glue in those areas that are touching the bag, and then I'll put some little foam dots or foam squares on the other areas, just so it lays nice and level with the rest of the bag. Now here's where I'll grab that white gel pen and we'll add some highlights. And again, this just kind of brings everything together a little bit. And then here's where I grabbed those little tiny screws. Now what I had in my stash were little brads that looked like screws. And I'm using the Ranger Multi-Medium Matte Glue to attach these. I did find that I didn't show it on camera, but I did clamp these down with my reverse tweezers for about a half an hour just to make sure that they would stay nicely in place. And I will list below for you some little screws that Tim Holtz has that are flat, so you can glue them right onto the card. You don't have to worry about cutting the backing off the brads the way I did. But look through your stash, see what you have. I just thought those added a lot to the card without adding any sparkle or anything like that. So here's a closer look at our finished card. And I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.